Welcome to the Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. It is certainly good to be with you, as always. I hope things are going well your way. I hope you are having a pleasant morning so far. Broadcasting live, as always, at Xavier South, the campus of Xavier University. Xavier South, right on Norman C. Francis Parkway, South Norman C. Francis Parkway. Next to the overpass, the street next to the overpass where people do not like it when you have to slow down for something. So there's a street right next to the overpass. If you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you take I-10, you get off at Howard Avenue, and you either stay on Howard and you go toward what is now 504 Gulf or now the Fox 8 studio. You go in that direction. There are some businesses down there. You might go that way to cut through Earhart to go downtown, however you do it. You know that you could also take that right turn next to the overpass. That's how I get to the studio. If you're coming from the east, you know what I'm talking about. People do not like it on that street when you have to slow down for any reason. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's a yield sign there for people coming off the overpass so that you can safely merge onto Norman C. Francis. People don't like it when you yield. They come to a short stop. They threaten to rear end you. And they certainly don't like it when you stop because you want to park on the street at Xavier South. They don't like that either. It is the rudest little stretch. The rudest little stretch of street in this area. It's got to be. It has got to be the rudest little stretch that I've seen. And we're talking a block, what, 2 blocks? We're talking 2 blocks here. And while I'm on it, I do have a question for the WBOK audience, especially if you're local, if you're here in New Orleans, because I need help with this. Why do people on I-610 not understand what the left lane's purpose is? The passing lane. Why do people who drive on I-610, particularly those who are going I-610 westbound, why do you not understand what the passing lane is for? Okay, that's it. That's really all I got because, that is not how I want to use the first few minutes of the show. Listen, what we have going this morning, obviously we have our usual conversation about what's happening in the news, but we also have Dr. Lauren Powell, who is going to be calling in at 7:20. And so we are looking forward to that interview. And then we are going to have another interview coming up at 8 o'clock. Excuse me while my brain catches up with me right now, but we are looking forward to these interviews as well. So Lauren Powell is going to give us a call, and she's going to talk to us about Biogen's Touchpoints event brings community culture and critical kidney health. And so the Touchpoints event is going to talk about community culture and is going to talk about kidney health. That's coming up at 7:20. 8 o'clock, we're going to have Ashana Bigard, and I really hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I will find out when she joins us. And Ashana is going to talk about the book, What the Grandmothers Kept. And so those are 2 interviews that you're going to get this morning. And, of course, your phone calls. 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Now, if there's anything that has stuck out to you about what's been going on in the news, would love to hear it. We have just a flurry of activity happening this morning. I'm also going to be joined, by the way, by Ashley Shelton of the Power Coalition. And so looking forward to Ashley joining us. She has, I really think this is a safe bet that Ashley is busy these days. And so I am very thankful that she is taking the time to sit with us today and to give us perspective on what's happening as far as elections are concerned, things that we need to know. Now, one thing that I do want to remind you of, because I do not want it to get lost, is that early voting is happening right now. And as far as the primaries are concerned right now, there are pieces that are saying that there is confusion. I definitely stick to what Will suggested last week and what I support, and that is cast your House primary votes anyway. Cast your Democratic and Republican primary votes anyway. Cast those votes. The early voting period is still going. It is Tuesday. Early voting stops on Saturday. The hours for early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I cannot say it enough that we do have early voting happening right now for the May 16th election. Get on out there and do your thing. Cast your vote. Cast your vote. This is extraordinarily extraordinarily important. Excuse me, this election, and so I would definitely say that you need to make sure that you cast your vote. All right, so we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff in the news. Again, your number, if you want to jump in, is 504-582-9422. So we'll have time, if you have something on your mind, we'll have time for maybe one phone call before we get to Dr. Lauren Powell at 7:20. But again, your number is 504-582-9422. I'm Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Kubel, and here are today's headlines for you. Clerk of Court-elect Calvin Duncan's first day of work was cut short after a federal court dissolved his position. There's been back and forth in court regarding the state of the Orleans Parish clerk role. On Sunday, a federal court in Baton Rouge blocked the state from cutting Duncan's job, but by Monday morning, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed that ruling and sided with the governor, who supports eliminating the role. Duncan was elected with 68% of the vote in November, and Duncan is actively contesting this ruling. Meantime, Michelle Woodfork is sworn in as the new sheriff of Orleans Parish. Sheriff Woodfork promised to restore trust and bring seasoned law enforcement leadership to the sheriff's office. She says that she plans to work with the legislative auditor and the CAO to manage finances better. She's also hoping to bring in new programs for inmates. And today is Give NOLA Day, and hundreds of local nonprofits are looking for your support. For the next 24 hours, your donations will go right back to New Orleans. There are nearly 1,000 nonprofits that you can donate to, including the Louisiana LASPCA, Second Harvest Food Bank, and Team Gleason, just to name a few. And that is a look for you at today's headlines. I'm Elizabeth Kubel for WBOK.
Hello, friend. Tavis Smiley here with a special announcement. You can catch my show at a new time, weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Same great topics, same great guests, same great conversations, just a little earlier in the day. It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. only on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Will Sutton. And so, yeah, you just heard the news on our vignette there. Our break from our media partners that Calvin Duncan showed up for work 8 o'clock. He was ready to go, ready to start his job, ready to serve the way that he said that he served. And he was able to do this. And remember, when Roe talked about this yesterday, this was something that Roe kept emphasizing, that it was a temporary restraining order. So he had enough time to tour offices, to take a look at record-keeping vaults. And, of course, this is according to NOLA.com. Matt Bruce filed this story late yesterday. And the U.S. Fifth Circuit of Appeals, U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, in a 2-sentence order, stayed the court ruling from de Gravel, prompted by a request from Attorney General Liz Muriel. And so we do have a little bit of a mess on our hands. But again, you know, the feeling that we got when Mr. Duncan came in a week before last, the feeling that we got was that they were ready for all of this. They were preparing for all of this. And I'm pretty sure that when the ruling came down from de Gravel, I'm pretty sure that I have to think that Duncan's attorneys said, listen, this is what we got now. This could change very quickly. I would not be surprised if they were ready for this at all. And so the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, who challenged SB 256 on Duncan's behalf, said Monday that they were preparing an emergency writ to the U.S. Supreme Court to challenge the stay order. Alana Odoms, the executive director of ACLU of Louisiana, she joined us here last week. She said that she expects an in-person hearing at the Fifth Circuit Courthouse this week. Odoms said that the timing of the stay after Duncan has stepped in Monday to lead the office bodes well for his case to complete his term. The Louisiana Constitution does not allow a court clerk's salary or retirement benefits to be diminished during their terms in office, according to NOLA.com. Quote, we are still arguing that Calvin should have his rightful place, Odom said. It's a showdown, but we're not giving up. We're going to keep fighting. We've come too far to go back. Now, of course, Governor Landry took to social media. He disputed the decision that was handed down from de Gravel. And, Duncan said that he had received a commission for the clerk's office and took a ceremonial oath. We remembered that. But, of course, the governor disputed the decision on social media. And, again, I've said this, and this is something that I'm going to stick to. That at this point, what the governor is doing looks so bad around the rest of the country. It looks horrible. It speaks of something that I've been talking about. I talked about it on the reality check. I mentioned it on this show. It speaks so much of his self-centered leadership. That this is all about him and what he wants and how he believes that the governor's seat is a bully stick. That's the way he wants to treat this situation. And I have got to imagine that even some of the most conservative people around the country, whether they're Republican or otherwise, I've got to think that some of the most conservative people around the country are thinking, wait a minute. Now you're making a mess of things. Because now you're even doing something that's impacting our kind, conservatives. The issue what you're doing right now, Governor Landry, I've got to think that even the most conservative people around the country are thinking, no, this is a mess. This is a mess. We understand you're trying to capitalize on the Supreme Court's decisions. We understand you're trying to capitalize. And again, I'm speaking in the voice of what conservatives around the country are probably saying. They are probably saying, we understand you wanted to capitalize on the Calais case. We get that. But now you're just making a mess of things. And whatever this thing that you're doing in Louisiana is, this thing with you and New Orleans, that is a you problem, and that's a them problem. This cannot be worth your time as the governor of the state. And regardless of your political leanings, again, even if you are conservative, around the rest of this country, you have got to look at this and say to yourself, this is a mess. And it's even going to impact other conservatives. Because right now, he's even messing with his own party's votes. He's messing with his own supporters' votes. Because there are a lot of Republicans running for these House primaries. And I've got to believe that even on the Republican side, where there's some the numbers are kind of in their favor, I have to imagine that even for them, this is too much of a mess. And then you take a look at what he's doing with Calvin Duncan, and they've got to look at this and say, wait, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break right now. We're going to get to Dr. Lauren Powell in just a second after we take this break. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show on WBOK, where New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Partly cloudy skies on this Tuesday, eventually seeing mostly cloudy a little later on into the day. Other than that, highs 81 to 84 degrees. Humidity is also on the rise. Staying dry today, though. Then lows for tonight, 66 to 71. For Wednesday, 85 to 88. We will see a small chance of a shower or two, but more rain expected for Thursday and Friday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Reshaw.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Life has a way of shifting priorities, changing needs, and pivoting plans. Home Bank is there for all of them. From understanding your needs, meeting your goals, and celebrating your success. Home Bank is invested in the vibrant spirit of our community and in you. Stop by any banking center across Greater New Orleans or visit them at home24bank.com to get started today. Good business, good for life. Home Bank, a member of the FDIC.
City Park is where to go when you don't know where to go. Turn towards the city center and start walking. Before long, you'll end up where you belong, at the heart of the city, New Orleans City Park. Stroll along the reeded marsh, wander through the sculpture garden, rest and recharge beneath ancient oak trees. This is where your spirit goes to grow. It's in our nature to yearn for nature. NewOrleansCityPark.org, heart of the city.
Well, Saints of God, this is Pastor David Impartan Sr. coming to you over the airways of WBOK, your favorite host of Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want to invite you to our show every Saturday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. That's Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want you to invite your family and friends to a broadcast that's designed to change your life, the way you think, the way you act, and what you eat. We want you to tune in every Saturday at 1 o'clock, WBOK, 1230 a.m. See you on Saturday.
The Ron Kelly Show. Real talk, bold truth. Tune in for your weekly dose of unapologetic conversations that don't dodge the truth or dilute the message. Stay informed on the issues that matter most on The Ron Kelly Show, every Monday at 7 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. Hope you're having a great morning. On Thursday, May 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., there's going to be an event, and it's going to be held here in New Orleans, and it's called Touch Points. Community event for kidney health and wellness is going to be held at the Common House at 420 Julia Street. Joining us to talk about this event is Dr. Lauren Powell. She's the head of health equity for Biogen. Good morning, Dr. Powell. How are you?
Morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So here you are. So wait, are you home? Are you returning home to where you graduated from Xavier?
I am. I'm returning home.
Okay, got
I
it.
like to think of it like that. I think of New Orleans very much as a second home in a lot of ways. I am a proud alum of Xavier University of Louisiana. So, yes, New Orleans holds a special place in my heart. So, yes, indeed. Thank you for that.
No problem. So tell us about the event that's going to be happening. This is during the National Medical Association meeting, the regional meeting, Region 5. So tell us about the event.
Well, yeah. So we're actually hosting an event called Touch Points. It's a community event for kidney health and wellness on May 7th in New Orleans. It's actually happening in parallel, but not exactly affiliated with the National Kidney Foundation's Spring Clinical Week. So it's not exactly in affiliation with the National Medical Association's regional meeting that was last month, but we are certainly partnering with the National Medical Association, who we work very closely with in Region 5. So the event is a free community-centered event. It's designed for patients, caregivers, and families, especially within Black and Hispanic and Latino communities who we know are disproportionately impacted by kidney disease. But this really is not your typical health seminar. It's very interactive, it's very welcoming, and rooted in culture and community. So we'll have things such as recipe swaps featuring kidney-conscious dishes inspired by cultural traditions, a listen lounge, so a welcoming space designed for reflection and storytelling and open dialogue. We'll have some educational sessions that translate complex kidney health information into accessible, actionable insights, some powerful storytelling moments from individuals who are actually navigating kidney disease and caregiving, and some panel discussions that bring together medical expertise and lived experience as well. So we really want this to be an opportunity for folks to connect in real time and offer an immersive, culturally relevant experience for folks.
All right, Dr. Powell, and my apologies, I misread that,
No worries.
that association with NMA. But so what is it that Black folks need to understand about kidney health? I have to say that my family has been impacted by it. I have a late brother-in-law who suffered with kidney health. He was on dialysis for most of his life, and so he really, really went through a lot. And this is even after a transplant. And so, what do we need to understand about kidney health?
Yeah, it's a really great point, and I too have family. My late stepfather was actually on dialysis for the latter part of his life, so I spent a lot of time taking him back and forth to treatment. So I too have some very personal experience about this. So, kidneys perform really important functions that affect every part of your body. Many other organs depend on kidneys to function normally. So our body depends on our kidneys for filtration. And so our kidneys remove waste products and extra fluids from the body in the form of urine. And when that isn't working properly, that really causes a lot of challenges for the rest of the body. There are stages of chronic kidney disease that you could develop. And that's a condition. Chronic kidney disease is a condition in which the kidneys are damaged and then cannot filter blood as well as they should. And that happens in stages. And what really is most troubling that, we see that disproportionately happens in our community is that this can develop kind of silently, right? This can develop silently over time. And so we're really wanting to raise awareness around this disease, and offer some culturally relevant information for folks to think about and to consider in their daily lives, and to hear from some folks who are navigating this in real time.
Let's talk about the cultural relevance of it. In what way can we expect touch points to be a culturally relevant experience?
Absolutely. Well, we believe in really making sure that when we host events in the community, that we are thinking about who we are trying to connect with, and making sure that we are tailoring our approach in that way, that we are tailoring our messaging in that way as well, and that we are also trying to be, located in a place that's a little bit more convenient for folks. So in that way, the recipes that we're trying to bring do have a bit of a New Orleans flair. So we are trying to think about the cuisine in the area, and trying to bring a kidney conscious sort of flair to that. So the listening lounge is really designed to create a space for folks to, to be in community and to connect. We believe in music, and we believe in folks, coming together and really feeling like connected. So this will be an event that is not sort of your run of the mill, sort of like stale and sort of boring, very, I think of like, sometimes I think medical events can be very just sterile, and we're really trying to not do that. It's the complete opposite of that. So those are some of the ways we're really trying to make this very culturally relevant.
So people might be listening to this, and people might be asking themselves, okay, so what should I eat that's going to help with my kidney health? So what kinds of foods?
Yeah, so we will have lots of foods there to educate folks. We like to encourage folks to make sure that we're eating foods that are lower in sodium, right? And so those are some of the foods that we'll be introducing. We'll be introducing some foods that maybe take into consideration things like potassium, things around like sugar, right? And so introducing and even having some nutritionists who are giving us some real tips on the types of food to eat. We will also have recipe cards for folks. So, the foods that people will be able to taste, they'll actually be able to have the recipes to take home with them, to recreate what they have on site, and to really take into account some of the suggestions we're offering on site to, really apply day to day in their lives.
So, there are times when I say this to people. There are times when I feel like we in New Orleans get a really bad rap when it comes to food. And people are like, oh, everything you cook is just so unhealthy. But we actually have a lot of vegetable-based dishes in New Orleans that are actually really good vegetable-based dishes. And so I can imagine that people might be surprised at some of the dishes that they can cook, and maybe even alter a little bit to be more kidney friendly. Do you think so?
Absolutely. I absolutely think so. I will say the disclaimer, I am not a nutritionist, right? So this is not my area of expertise, but I completely agree. I think we have to think about doing things in moderation, right? I used to think about that even within my family, and even with my stepfather and his kidney conditions and his challenges as he was on dialysis, right? It's about thinking about doing things in moderation. And even when I come to visit New Orleans, which I do quite often, I don't eat the same thing every time I come, right? As much as I'm tempted to, and I want a po' boy every single time I touch down. I don't always do that, right? I have some visits where I don't have a po' boy at all, which breaks my heart at times. But I think about trying to do things in moderation. So I agree with you. There are healthy choices to be made everywhere. We just have to look for them, and sometimes have the discipline to step away a little bit.
So one of the things that I find is really fascinating about this event is that there's going to be a listen lounge, but then also there's going to be storytelling. Talk about those features.
Yeah. The Listen Lounge is really, thank you for the question, first of all. The Listen Lounge is really set up to ask some of the folks who will be attending the event about some of their experiences. We want folks to reflect on their experiences and reflect on even how they may be navigating healthcare or just navigating sort of their health journey right now. You don't even have to have any sort of diagnosis with kidney disease in particular at the moment, but an opportunity for folks to reflect on their own in a listening way, for us to listen and to hear about some of their experiences. And then on the flip side, for folks to listen to others talk about how they are navigating kidney disease in real time. So both a patient as well as a caregiver, so someone who is taking care of or providing a lot of support to someone who is living with kidney disease, and hearing about how they are providing that support and how they are navigating in real time. And I think that is just so important. And to me, that's also part of how we're creating an event that is culturally relevant for folks, because we are very communal people, right? We take care of each other, whether you are blood, family by blood, or family by adoption, or family because I called you my play cousin, right? We take care of each other in our community. And so we find it so important to create the space in this event to listen to what folks are saying when they come through the doors into this event, and also provide a space for them to listen to the stories that are being told by folks who are navigating some of these challenges in real time.
So, to your knowledge, what do the data suggest about kidney health? Are Black folks and brown folks, are we disproportionately impacted by it?
We are. Health inequities in this country are no secret. And this is what I have really dedicated a lot of my career to, is working in health equity, which is really trying to work on eradicating health disparities and health inequities. And I happen to be doing that at Biogen, which I'm so proud to be doing at this global biotech company. But yes, kidney disease is among many other diseases that disproportionately impact Black and brown communities. And when we have other comorbidities, such as hypertension and type 2 diabetes, that add additional complications there, this can become a really difficult challenge. It can create several layers of difficulty. And so this is a really important event, a really important disease to continue to raise awareness about, and to continue to also offer solutions for. Like, there are modifications that, again, solutions even around diets that we're interested in and excited to share to community members and to folks who will come out and hear about what we have to share, and just to continue to raise awareness and educate folks about it.
So again, the event is going to be Thursday, May 7th, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's going to be at the Common House. It's Touchpoints, a community event for kidney health and wellness. Dr. Powell, I have to ask you, is there anything in particular that you are personally looking forward to with the event?
Well, I always look forward to community events, period. I love the people. I mean, my team and I, we just love being around the people. We encourage anyone and everyone to come out. You can register. You don't have to register. You can show up. We welcome you. I just love being around the people. So that always brings me ultimate joy. It truly does.
All right. And this is free. It's open to the public. So you can just show up. And of course, whether you're a patient, a caregiver, a community member, particularly if you're from the Black community, particularly if you're one of our Hispanic and Latino brothers and sisters, then definitely you can come to the event and you can listen to great information about kidney health. And you're right. I mean, we talk about heart health, which we should. We talk about other organs, but a lot of times it really does seem as if kidney health tends to be somewhat of an afterthought. And like you said, I have heard many stories of people saying, I didn't realize I was having a kidney problem. Everything was fine. And then one day my back started hurting. Something started hurting and I didn't know what it was. And I found out I had a kidney issue. Are there any early signs that anyone can pay attention to that may give them a hint that something is going on with their kidneys?
Yeah, these are some of the topics we're going to discuss in particular at our event. We will actually have a nephrologist on site. So Dr. Hoover, who is Dr. Robert Hoover, actually, who is the chief of nephrology and hypertension at the Tulane School of Medicine, who will join some patient advocates. He will actually speak very specifically about this. And some of the dynamic, symptoms, the early symptoms of potential changes in your kidney health. So I think some of the early symptoms may be even around urination, frequency of urination or lack of urination, right? So Dr. Hoover, I think, will get into a lot of these topics and really give us a deeper dive into that.
And I ask that question because if anybody's experiencing anything right now, such as what you just mentioned, I want them to be able to say, wait a minute, I think that sounds like me. I need to go to this thing and I need to get more information. So Dr. Lauren Powell, thank you so much. She's the head of health equity and drug development at Biogen. And the event is Touchpoints, a community event for kidney health and wellness. It's going to be Thursday, May 7th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Common House, 420 Julia Street. Dr. Powell, thank you so much for joining us on the Good Morning Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day.
You too. And we're going to be back in just a little bit with the Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. The number of Black summer associates at law firms is shrinking to its lowest levels in more than a decade. That's according to a survey by the National Association of Law Placement. And as part of a larger trend across industries, a reaction to a conservative push to end race and gender-based preferences in hiring and in school admissions. I spoke to Bloomberg Equality reporter Jeff Green, who says this decline could be just the tip of the iceberg.
We haven't even begun to see yet the impact of enrollment based on that affirmative action decision. The NALP folks said that's probably not going to show up till maybe next year's class. So you'll have the other side of that ratio affected. The number of Black people who were in law school may also be diminishing.
Conservative legal strategist Edward Blum is a name to watch here. He's led several successful initiatives to curb DEI in places like law firms. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
It's deck days at Lowe's, and the savings are stacked. Right now, pros get 15% off all in-stock composite decking from top brands like Trex, TimberTech, and Decorators. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt tool. The deck's stacked in your favor with brands pros trust. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to all day long.
Transform your bathroom with the beautiful quality of Bath Planet. As a trusted leader in bathroom renovation, Bath Planet has earned the Good Housekeeping seal, a symbol of quality and consumer confidence for over 100 years. Get half off installation or 18 months with no interest and no payments. Whether it's tub replacement, a shower replacement, or a tub-to-shower conversion, Bath Planet makes your custom bath fast, easy, and affordable. Here's how it works. 1. Call to schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. 2. Our design experts come to you with real samples to customize your dream bath. 3. Our certified installers complete the transformation in as little as 1 day. And right now, for a limited time, you can upgrade your bathroom for 50% off installation or choose 18 months with no interest and no payments. But you need to call now. This special offer is only available by calling 800-981-8177. That's 800-981-8177. Call 800-981-8177 right now before the offer ends.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. And if you're taking a look at us on Facebook, if you're joining us that way, if you are joining us on YouTube, you will see that magically someone appeared in the studio. I'm giving her a hard time. Ashley Shelton with the Power Coalition Executive Director. And so I walked in this morning. Ashley is with us on the show this morning. I walked in and she was on a call. And Jared is like, okay, I don't know when she's gonna be finished. I said, oh no. Whatever she's doing is important. Do not bother that woman. She walks in when she walks in, and that is the way it is because of the work you're doing with Power Coalition. And you know, Ashley, I have been on this thing lately where I started this on the reality check last week when I sat in for Gerard Stevens, where I said, I am so bothered right now, not necessarily by policy decisions, but the style of leadership.
Absolutely.
And I've been telling the audience, and I'm going to keep saying this until I'm blue in the face, I am highly disturbed because the style of leadership we're seeing right now is self-centered leadership.
Yeah.
And even if people are saying, well, you know, if they have people support them, is it really self-centered? You know, all these people self-centered? And I'm like, yeah. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, and then it's like you voted, and then nobody thinks about these characters until you then see how they're going to use their power to abuse, to hurt, and you know, and undermine communities. And New Orleans in particular, we have seen this legislature just come after the city of New Orleans. And I remind people all the time, I said, the economic engine of this state is New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I was just like, New Orleans has its own power that is resented by a lot of the rest of the state.
Yeah.
But when you are the economic seat, you know, these kinds of games where folks, why is a legislator from North Louisiana trying to tell us what our court system needs to look like?
So let's talk about this really widespread, multi-level abuse of power that we're seeing right now. Again, we can talk about policies all day long, but to me, it is the self-centered leadership, and it is the abuse of power that is really so problematic.
I know, absolutely. And we're seeing it at every level of government. On Wednesday of last week, we saw the Supreme Court destroy Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And, you know, let me tell you what that means. That means that if you think about any seat that's held by a Black person in this country at any level of government, that their seats were all protected by Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And just like we are seeing, you know, the Supreme Court Justice Alito, in his decision, he said the South has changed. We have changed. There is no need for racial remedies anymore. And then within an hour of that decision, we saw the whole South do exactly the opposite. We saw Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee all move special sessions so that they could redistrict and destroy, you know, our access, voice, and opportunity for Black voters in their states. And so right now, this fight is a congressional fight.
Yeah.
But what I want people to understand is that it may be a legislative fight. And it already is, because we had a lawsuit, Nairn versus Louisiana, and Nairn, we stood to gain 9 majority-minority seats in the legislature, which would have effectively broken the supermajority that is moving all of this terrible policy. And now they have the right to not honor that, right? They have they have the right to redistrict and remove the voices of Black leaders in our state at every level of government. And this isn't just about Louisiana. This is about this country. And so any minority, Black, white, I mean, well, no, wait, black, white women, right? Women of
Mhm.
every race and ethnicity,
Mhm.
and any minority, any person of color, Latino, API, are now, they have less access to the vote. And also, if you're poor, this also
I
impacts
was
you
gonna
as
say,
well. Like it
this is going to
defies.
creep in the class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it defies race in a way that folks are not paying attention to.
Mhm.
Folks think this is just a black people's problem. But let me remind you, when black people get rights, everybody gets rights.
Yes.
And so when the Voting
Yes.
Rights Act passed, right,
Mhm.
60 years ago, we saw, right, that after the Voting Rights Act passed, we saw disability rights.
Mhm.
We saw rights for the LGBTQ community. We saw rights expand for everyone. And so when we opened the door, we left the door open.
So here's the thing that is so interesting to me, and this is another part of a narrative that I've been going with this, because one of the things that is really sickening to me is how these people who are abusing their power have been able to get folks to back up off our language and our narrative. So people are like, well, I don't want to say woke. No, you better say woke.
Right.
You better
right.
say woke.
Somebody needs to be awake.
All
Okay.
those people with voter regret right now who wish they hadn't voted for Trump. If you had been woke, then you would have seen this coming.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's not even just the fact that your eggs now cost double what they costed when you said you voted for him because of the cost
Oh,
of
now
eggs.
it's too expensive
right.
for you to go buy eggs.
Right. And in fact, and your the gas
That's what I mean.
is
Yeah, it's
double
too
the price.
expensive.
Double
Yeah.
the price. Okay.
Mhm.
And so like let's have some real conversations about what's happening to this economy. I mean, we saw a whole corporation, Spirit Airlines, gone.
Mhm.
And let's get real about, our economy. No matter what anybody thinks about Spirit, they were a real option
Yes, they
for
were.
folks to be able to travel and be able to afford to travel. And
Yep.
so at the end of the day, like now a whole corporation, 17,000 employees, gone
Mhm.
in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to see more of that. And
Yeah.
so again, that's less access. And we start to see the class piece, showing up right in front of our faces.
Yeah. Jared, do we need to take a break right now? We don't need to take a break. So the thing to me that is probably most damning about this, though, is that, again, it creeps into class. But the thing to me that is, that is really that is really interesting is that and I've said this so many times, that you have, even black folks have been convinced to some degree that, well, maybe we don't need things like affirmative action anymore. Well, if I can go vote, and this is what the non-voters say, well, if I can go vote, I can go vote. I just go vote, but I just don't vote. And, they say things like that. And they say, well, do we really need this stuff? But here's the thing. How quickly we forget that when it comes to self-centered, when it comes to unethical leadership, unethical policies,
Yep.
the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, affirmative action, those were the corrections. Drawing these districts, so that
You neuter the voices of black political power and black voters.
But having districts drawn so that black folks could have more of a voice and people of certain classes could have more of a voice. That is the response to unethical policies.
No, absolutely.
It's not like it kills me how even some black folks, especially black Republicans, it kills me how they're on this thing right. It's like, well, it's a meritocracy. No, the hell it is not. Stop it with the meritocracy. There's no such thing.
The gaslighting is exhausting.
Yeah.
It is exhausting. Before the Voting Rights Act, there were 4 black congressmen, and still we just finally got to a number of 60 people in Congress that are either African American or minority, and again now we're seeing that challenged all over the country, and we're having to try to balance the power with states like Virginia that then had to say, well, okay, you want to go that way, well then we're going to go the other way. And try to create some balance, and let's be clear, this is about power, and this is about, are we going to re-enter a Jim Crow era? Is this the new Reconstruction? Speaking of gaslighting, one of the things too is that what this Supreme Court decision also said was that that the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act violated the 14th and 15th Amendments. Now, for a little history lesson, the 14th and 15th Amendments were created after Reconstruction to protect minorities.
Yeah.
And this Supreme Court said that protecting minorities flew in the face of the 14th and 15th Amendment, which was to protect minorities.
And the thing that
I mean, you can't even make it up. You can't even make it up.
But the thing is that they know that they're catering to a base that is highly uneducated, mostly white, and poor. And they know that these people are going to say, yeah. And these people who are saying, yeah, that's right, don't even know what these amendments are.
Yeah.
And they don't even know, and they don't even know why things like amendments and laws even exist. Because 9 times out of 10, a law happens because somebody did something foul.
Mm-hmm.
And so a law had to be created to stop
protect,
people
right,
from
exactly.
doing foul stuff and to protect the people who were hurt by the foul stuff. So it's not like all these amendments just showed up.
No, and then too, and
because
people,
somebody was feeling quote unquote sorry for black people.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think too that kind of taking it back to the state level, our governor suspended the House congressional races, which is currently being litigated because there's no law that says he had the right to suspend it.
And that's going to impact his base too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we're trying to tell all voters, early voting is through this Saturday, so May 2nd through the 9th. So many people have already cast their ballots. So you had all these absentee ballots that are already in, and now you're saying that you want to change the rules and change the game. And we're telling everyone, vote your entire ballot.
Yes.
You vote for Congress, House, vote for Senate, vote for whatever's on your ballot, vote no on these amendments. These amendments they want to enshrine this terrible stuff in our state constitution. And I have to tell you, once it gets in there, it's never coming out.
Yeah.
And so we have to think about the ways in which we protect what's left of the Louisiana that we love. And I tell people all the time, everything I love is in this place. And I'm so exhausted by the folks that just want to destroy it. I said, well, so who's going to be left? Who's going to be able to live here? But the oil and gas folks.
Well, and data center people.
Right, in
North
industry.
Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly. And,
I mean,
and
from my understanding, the data centers won't even employ that many people.
No, they don't. But your tax dollars are paying for nuclear power plants to power their economic growth and opportunity.
So are people's tax dollars also going to be tied up in all of the litigation that Jeff Landry?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the frivolous.
Absolutely.
All the frivolous litigation.
Absolutely. I mean, we have
including
been,
his base, their tax dollars too.
Yes. And so in one of the poorest states in the country, we are, wasting taxpayer dollars, fighting all kinds of frivolous lawsuits, and undermining what this state is about and our ability to move forward and to be able to economically competitive.
Yeah.
And and it's with this redistricting, not too long ago, folks were like, oh, well, don't bring your money to Texas because they're racist, because they were redistricting to neuter the voices of Black and Latino voters. And now here we are doing the same thing. And so it's like, again, they're going to be the economic implications of folks saying, we're not bringing our money to Louisiana because you're racist, right?
Yeah.
And, and it's just a vicious cycle that we're going to have to vote our way out of. And, and for me, the response to this Supreme Court decision has to be Black voters turning out en masse. Any voter, actually, who cares about democracy needs to show up in the fall and elect a Congress that's going to restore our rights.
And, it's interesting that you say that, because some of the feedback that we've been getting from a very small number of listeners, and even some people who are quote unquote influencers, some of the stuff that we've been getting from them is you can't vote your way out of this. And so people, this is an economic discussion. It's like, well, where do you think economic policies come from?
Absolutely.
Where do you think educational policies come from? So, yeah, we are going to have to vote our way out of it. And I'm sorry that it's such a slow process for you. And I'm sorry that you can't just do a Thanos snap and get the money that you want. Because that's the other thing. half the people saying this are like, well, I just need to make some money right now. It's like, yeah, but your dollar is going to be affected by these policies.
No, it's so true. And I think that, people are so disconnected from how all of it works.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we are going to have to vote the only tool we have right now is to vote our way out of this. And it's not, like I said, and we're being gaslit and we're being told all these lies. But again, you got to trust your gut. And I think that, again, voters have to show up en masse. This has to be David Duke versus Edwin Edwards again in the fall. In the fall, like that's what we're fighting. I mean, like that's what it's like. Do you want the Grand Master of the Ku Klux Klan, or do you want somebody that's going to try to make the state better? And you have to understand that that's how visceral some of these fights are, and what some of these candidates are about. And we have the power. We have the power to elect a Congress that's going to do the right thing.
It is so ironic, and we have to go to break, but it is so ironic that the battleground for what's happening right now around the country is a state that ranks near the bottom in every essential quality of life category.
Absolutely. Well, look, as goes the South, goes the nation. And so while everybody's laughing at us, it's like, this is coming to a town near you. That's been the Southern strategy for as long as I can remember. And so I think that that's what people have to understand, is that what happens here is just seeded here, and then it's taken wholesale to the rest of the country. We saw it with Dobbs. We're now seeing it with Calais, and we're going to have to fight, and we're going to have to use all, again, people forget Congress has abdicated their role.
Yeah.
They are not doing their jobs. They have literally allowed the executive branch to go unchecked, declare war, do all of these things that we need to elect a Congress that's going to do their job.
Wow, this is fascinating. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the next hour. I'm Eddie Francis, in for Will Sutton. Ashley Shelton joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
So happy to be here.
The Good Morning Show on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. 3 people are dead and 5 others critically hurt after a large fire in Upper Manhattan.
There's been plenty of fires. They have a lot of issues in the building, gas leakage.
Flames tore through a 6-story building in Inwood, displacing more than 100 residents. Fire officials say open apartment doors helped fuel the blaze. Ford is recalling more than 179,000 vehicles. Federal regulators say a defect in the front seat frame of the late model Broncos and Ranger pickups could increase injury risk in a crash. The recall includes 2024 through 2026 Bronco SUVs. And police are investigating conflicting reports of a shooting outside Chris Brown's Los Angeles home. A woman told officers a man fired at her car, while the suspect claims she ran over his foot. Brown says he knows nothing about the incident. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. Ashley Shelton is joining us.
Good morning.
Power Coalition, and joining us right now, Ashana B. Guard. She's coming to talk to us about a book. A book. So the book is called What the Grandmothers Kept. First of all, I'm fascinated by the title. Absolutely fascinated by the title. But for anyone who does not know you, Ashana, tell us about yourself. The WBOK thing. Who are you? Who are your people? All that good stuff.
So Ashana B. Guard. I'm a native New Orleanian. I am an advocate, and I've been doing work in pretty much education, justice, juvenile justice, and the linking justices, because you find yourself doing all the different work You hit economic justice, you hit housing, you hit everything when you're truly entrenched in education and juvenile justice.
Okay, cool. And what part of the city you from?
Well, I'm a combination of 3rd Ward and 8th Ward. So,
yeah, that happens with a lot of people.
Yes, my grandmother's house was in the 8th Ward,
Yep.
between arts and music, and I actually grew up in a Melpomene housing project, so 3rd Ward, you know.
Oh, okay. Or as some of our more educated tourists would say, is that the Melpomene? The Melpomene? No. It's the Melpomene.
It's the Melpomene.
How you gonna rename? Like, you don't get to just rename our neighborhood.
Well, you know what? So wait, no, I got to tell y'all, I got in big trouble once. So I was catching a bus. I grew up in Treme. I was catching a bus uptown to go see one of my people. And I had never caught the bus on Napoleon. I had never caught the Napoleon. So I was I don't know, probably preteen or something like that, a teenager. And so me with my St. Aug self, I told the bus driver, because I had never been to the street before.
Yeah.
I said, I need to go to Milan Street. And he was like, what? I said, Milan Street. What? Where that is? And I was like, he said, spell it. And I said, Milan. Boy, that's Milan. Where you from? And I was like, sorry, sir.
Exactly.
Could you just drop me off in Milan?
Okay.
Ashana, tell us about the book.
So the book is it's a passion project, and it started like I was teaching at Tulane with Jimmy Huck, who's a wonderful, great co-teacher, and we would have these classes. I taught at Tulane for 7 years, and I remember I had this young white student, very intelligent, and he was just like, I really have to push back on you, because I would encourage my students to push back. And he said, I have to push back around the Mardi Gras Indians. It was before they were really calling themselves Black masking. And he said, and I feel like y'all are, y'all say y'all paying homage, but you get to dress up and da-da-da-da-da and pretend to be Indians, and you're not, and da-da-da. And I was like, that's a valid point, because I would always tell my students that. And I'm like, that is actually not the stories I was told as a child. So
absolutely,
I was told as a child that we weren't paying, my people did not feel like they were paying homage to other people's ancestors. It's like, we're actually Blackfoot, Chitimacha, and Choctaw.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that kind of got me on the how do you prove this train, because I would always tell my students, I say question everything. But the crazy part is that I hadn't really applied that to myself. You kind of study a thing, this is the thing, etc. And so it took me on this journey. And I want to say that I wasn't the only one. I want to shout out to my friend Aretha Lewis, who was also studying this. She was studying it in detail before me. But I was really studying it, and the things that kept coming up were the same things over and over again, which is it's just a lot of stuff I didn't know. Like, I did not know between Louisiana, Mississippi, and Virginia, most of the tribes were matriarchal. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually the grandmothers, the older women who held counsel, who made all of the decisions. And when I started looking at the food, the dancing, it was the exact same. I mean, literally, they were eating cornbread, they were eating greens,
right?
They would be eating filet soups. It was the exact same thing. And it was just hitting me over and over again, because I don't go to my grandfather's house. I go to my grandmother's house, and it doesn't matter whether my grandfather built that house brick by brick, paid for everything. My grandmother was still the last decision maker. And I remember asking my grandfather if I could do things, and he would say yes, because I would ask him, because I knew he was going to say yes. And then he would stop me right when I was about to hit that door. I'd be like, grandma said yeah. And he said, did you ask your grandma?
Yeah.
No, I didn't ask her.
Right.
She gonna say no,
Right.
But it's like her word was the last word. And why is that? And why are we shamed so often in the Black community for being matriarchal? But then it got deeper. And this is where my research kind of challenged me, because I'm blackity black. Anybody who knows me, I am. I believe we're Black natives, but it challenged me in this way of we are part African, but the way the Atlantic slave trade was taught to us is not the way it happened. Yes, it absolutely happened. So the Amistad is proof of that. But also on the Amistad, they had 53 people. And those 53 people, a few of them took the boat. And these were not warriors. These were farmers, right? But more than that, what challenged me more than anything was I was talking to literally my nephew, my fake nephew, who's a medical student, and he said, honestly, T, he was like, it's a medical impossibility the way they describe it to us. And so he broke down the fact that if you had 200 people or 300 people on the bottom of a ship in chains, they would get something called friction ulcers, which is opening up the skin just from the friction of the chains on their ankles or feet. And that these people were described as laying in their own vomit and feces. And he was like, and if you get that in a wound, that causes sepsis in a matter of days. And he was like, it wouldn't have been 20% of the people dying. It would have been 90. He was like, that's financially impossible. And I was like, you're going on record. And I've talked to a lot of doctors, and they all say the same thing. Absolutely, this is a medical, but they won't go on record. They won't touch it because it's so ingrained, because they're like, well, the second we put this on paper, we're saying the Atlantic slave trade didn't happen. I was like, no, you're not saying it didn't happen. You're saying in the way it was told to us it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it was much easier to leave Louisiana and go to Virginia and kidnap a bunch of dark-skinned indigenous people who didn't speak the same language and bring them over, because that was a much shorter voyage. And the idea that dark-skinned indigenous people, we know that they were knocking people off the Dawes Roads. We know that there was such a thing as a $5 Indian, where white people paid $5 to be put on rolls as indigenous people. And this happened thousands of times. And Walter Plecker knocked thousands of people, took their indigenous status from them. But it wasn't just Walter Plecker. It was Naomi in New Orleans. It was other people all across the country. These one-drop rules popped up. But the thing is that the evidence that we were indigenous has been in front of our face the whole time. Because when I was a kid, I remember them saying, we've been in slavery for 400 years. Now, this is in the 80s, right? What if we've been in slavery for 400 years and the first African didn't come over till 1619? What's that other 100+ years?
And actually, so Ashley, hold your question, because we do have to go to a break. So let's take the break, and then we'll get to you when we come back. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. Joining us is Ashana Bigard about her book, What the Grandmothers Kept. And Ashley Shelton is joining us on the Good Morning Show on WBOK. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Kubel, and here are today's headlines for you. Clerk of Court-elect Calvin Duncan's first day of work was cut short after a federal court dissolved his position. There's been back and forth in court regarding the state of the Orleans Parish clerk role. On Sunday, a federal court in Baton Rouge blocked the state from cutting Duncan's job, but by Monday morning, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed that ruling and sided with the governor, who supports eliminating the role. Duncan was elected with 68% of the vote in November, and Duncan is actively contesting this ruling. Meantime, Michelle Woodfork is sworn in as the new sheriff of Orleans Parish. Sheriff Woodfork promised to restore trust and bring seasoned law enforcement leadership to the sheriff's office. She says that she plans to work with the legislative auditor and the CAO to manage finances better. She's also hoping to bring in new programs for inmates. And today is Give NOLA Day, and hundreds of local nonprofits are looking for your support. For the next 24 hours, your donations will go right back to New Orleans. There are nearly 1,000 nonprofits that you can donate to, including the Louisiana LASPCA, Second Harvest Food Bank, and Team Gleason, just to name a few. And that is a look for you at today's headlines. I'm Elizabeth Kubel for WBOK. Have a great day, everyone.
Hi, I'm Leo Jackson, host of Sunday Gospel here every Sunday morning, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 12 o'clock till 2 p.m. You don't want to miss this move of God. It happens only on WBOK. You listen to all day long.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
And welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. Ashley Shelton joining us from the Power Coalition, and Ashana B. Guard, author of What the Grandmothers Kept. All right, Ashley, what you got?
Yeah, no, I'm always struck by people's inability to believe that there were Black natives in the state of Louisiana from the beginning, right? Like a boat didn't have to bring Black indigenous people here. They are indigenous to this place, and when you push on the issue, people will challenge you because they cannot believe anything other than what they were taught in a book, in the history books. And it's just like there is a real beautiful story about the fact that there was such a vibrant native Black indigenous community, and then of course devastated and destroyed by slavery. But at the end of the day, they were here. They were farmers. They were, all of these things, and it's so interesting to me that when you start having these conversations outside of Black or other minority communities, there is a huge pushback on a narrative that says that we are indigenous, that there are Black indigenous people to this state and multiple this country.
And and the thing about it is, it shouldn't be that hard to believe. And so, because how conquering happens is you take the land, you enslave the people.
Yeah.
There's a playbook to conquering.
Absolutely.
And
colonization
and conquering, right? Yep. And so why would it have changed for the Americas? And the thing about it is, again, it has been in front of our faces when they tell the stories of how they had to create slave patrols to keep the people on a plantation so they wouldn't run up north. Well, how would they know how to get up north? How would they know how to get through the terrain of the swamps? Well, they ran to the Indians and they took them in. How did they know where these people were?
Right.
Why would these people risk their freedom to take them in?
Yeah.
How is it when they got there, the slave catchers couldn't just go and easily identify these dark-skinned Black people who was in the Indian territories to bring them back? What you mean once they got there, you couldn't differentiate them from the other people? It was just all these many things, but like, there's these big things of like just literally taking the federally recognized tribes. And I'm going to say Choctaw did something very beautiful and strategic when they became one of the 5 civilized quote unquote tribes, which means I'm going along with your BS pretty much. They started taking in other tribes. So Chitimacha became a part of Choctaw, and a lot of the smaller tribes became. That's why Choctaw is one of the biggest tribes, and it goes all the way from Mississippi all the way to Texas, because Choctaw was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna sign, and you're gonna be free. You're not gonna be able to enslave us, because there's literally documented by a Pulitzer Prize author talking about they enslaved between 2.5 and 5 million indigenous people on record, right? And we're just talking about on record. So the majority of people who were enslaved, of course, we know pre 1619 were indigenous, but the idea that somehow that they just let all these 2 million people go as soon as Africans came is ridiculous.
Right.
But not only that, though, the strategic ways they did things that don't make sense, like the separation of children and families. So if I have a mother and father working on my plantation, having their children there is leverage. If you don't do my work, your kids are right here. I could beat them, whatever. Why would I separate children and families? But there's a strategic reason. If the family knows, if the mother and father know they're Choctaw, and these children run into a lawyer or anybody who can represent them, they can challenge it in court. And there's actually multiple cases of people challenging their enslavement, saying, we're indigenous, we don't belong here.
Yeah.
And winning.
Right.
So there's something really fascinating about what you're saying, though. You know, you talked about matriarchal leadership, and the book is What the Grandmothers Kept.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I find very interesting is it's interesting. I'm actually preparing for my Saturday radio show, and I actually intend to talk about this bro culture manosphere red pill podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Thing, which is absolutely childish and just clinically insane.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about pushes against a traditional notion of leadership and women's role, vital role in leadership, especially in our communities. And I find that really fascinating, because to me that seems to be a major undertone of what you're talking about, and how our perception of what makes a quote unquote great leader we really don't have it all together when that, talk more about this role of women that you ran across.
Well, I mean, one of the things is, and this is this is a tidbit that hopefully will help the manosphere rose. Well,
Nothing's
no,
gonna
no,
help.
no, no. Well, help them open their minds. Let's say that. So one of the things, and I didn't put all of it in a book because Lord knows, oh my God, it's so graphic, some of it. But the Spaniards, when they first came and they were watching these people, and they described these people as dark skinned, by the way. The reason that we're over sexualized. Can I talk about sex?
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't say bad words.
No, I won't say bad words. And so the reason we're
clinical terms.
The reason we're over sexualized is because when they came across us, women desired their husbands. They watched people make love, and they had no concept of that at the time. Because if in the book I do a lot of research from great white men, and they described women as not liking sex. Most of it was our, assault culture in the European culture, right? So then to see people touching and kissing and caressing and all these things, then they're like, oh, something is wrong with these people. And of course, there was a jealousy also.
Of course. Interesting.
But even during slavery, we kept the matriarchal culture was one of we're equals. We love each other. We value each other. And we value each other beyond things because our culture was actually a culture of abundance, which is why we didn't feel we own the land. We shared the land. We shared the food because there's enough for everybody, right?
Right.
So it was almost utopia. The utopia we dream of, we already had, right? Yeah. Which is why we invited other people in. We're like, of course, we move around. When it gets cold, we move to a place where the food and fish is plentiful, which is why New Orleans was called Bubancha, which means the land of many tongues, because the tribes would come here. It's 22 on record, but it was more than 22 tribes that would come to the Louisiana coast and share space and share land and intermarry, etc. Right?
Right.
But the matriarchal culture meant that men would get pretty. They would perform. They would sing songs to win their wives' families and their wives. Okay, right. You had to be pretty, which is why our men costume and dance. But also you had to be hunt. You had to have a certain morality. But then it led to a happy family because your wife didn't choose you because of what you could provide. Your wife didn't choose you because of any of these toxic male traits. She chose you because she thought you were a beautiful person.
And and so wait. Let's break down the word pretty because some people might misunderstand.
Okay. So pretty meaning handsome, perform. And I mean, a lot of the dancing and singing was also attributed to your hunting skills, your fathering skills, all kinds of skills.
These were major attractions.
These were attractions, okay?
Yeah.
So, but it's also like in nature, you'll see that the male birds are the prettiest ones. They have the feathers and etc. It's because they're attracting their mate, right? So it was similar to that because a lot of indigenous culture very much was entwined with nature, right? So we respected the water. That's the other thing. The Europeans at the time were still they had the term, I have a pot to piss and I went to throw it out. They would literally piss and other things in this pot and they would throw it out their window. So European streets were filled with urine and feces. When they came over, we had a sewer system. We had a way of dealing with it, which wasn't dumping it in the water. They would burn it or reintroduce it to the land. These people had complicated systems, and they were making record of, like, these people take baths 3 times a day. At the time, they were taking baths once a year.
Yeah.
So, no, your wife doesn't want to kiss you on your neck. Your neck is disgusting.
Dirty neck.
Great, okay. Dirty everything, okay.
So...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when you come from a poverty mindset, and like honestly, capitalism culture is poverty culture. It really is because you feel the need to grab everything.
Yeah.
Because
it's scarcity, right?
It's scarcity.
Yeah. Instead of abundance, which is what, the matriarchal leadership has always been about, is abundance and welcoming and understanding that we are all going to do better together.
Right.
Than trying to figure out just what's in it for me. And that's what's beautiful about, female leadership, is that you're going to see that time and time again, that we're going to bring everybody together versus saying, like, we don't have what we need. No, you have what you need.
Well, and leadership research does tell us that women are some of the most effective leaders. It tells us that.
Yeah.
And so that is, I really, the pretty thing is, and I do think about Mardi Gras when our boys come out, like, I'm the prettiest. I do think about that. Well, you know what? I need to, baby, your pretty husband is coming home after this show.
I love it. Okay.
Where it gets even more interesting is that there's this envy and jealousy because marriage, again, everything we've been told is a lie. So we've been told that romance is to sell greeting cards. And that's, again, simply untrue. It was built into our culture. And when you think about slavery and people being enslaved, people still got married even though they were risking punishment. Why? You had nothing to give but yourself. And of course, our lovemaking was better because guess what? That's all you had to give. Was songs and poetry and pleasure, right? But again, it didn't come out of slavery. It was there before. It was pre-existing. And we have done this magical thing as a people, no matter what they did to us, which is kill us, enslave us, lynch us. Terrorize us, strip us of our own identities by separating our families, children from adults. And yet we still manage to keep our culture.
Yep.
And I tell people it's a very different acclamation to the land and your culture when you realize we are people who have systematically been attacked in every way and still managed to keep our culture and still managed to do the things that our ancestors did, which were beautiful.
Yeah.
And so how would you let the manosphere take that away from you? These people were envious of you. They didn't have what you had.
But you know the other thing, and we tend to forget this. Louisiana started as a penal colony. I mean, the worst of the worst was sent here.
Now, and not only that, I remind people too. It was like Louisiana. Last week we just celebrated the 220th birthday of Louisiana, and I remind people we went straight from a colony to a state. We weren't a republic. Like at least Texas. Like some folks had actually figured some stuff out. We went straight from a colony to a state, and I would argue that we never stopped being a colony. And as we see with industry and all the folks that take advantage of the land and the riches of this place, how are we in the richest state in America? We've got oil, we've got natural gas, we've got all of these things, but our people are the poorest and living in the poorest conditions. And
I mean, and it's heartbreaking because when you understand from between 1970 and now, $52 trillion of oil was taken, and a percentage of that belongs to the indigenous people.
Yeah.
If we could get our crap together and understand that we are indigenous people, New Orleans could be a federally recognized piece of land, and we could have our own casinos and our own money. And so you call yourself taking back civil rights. If we get it together, I mean, we're talking not.
You started the whole thing. That's but it's real.
It's absolutely,
it's very real.
It's concrete. And the thing about it is, I tell people, do not go to the 23andMe because the records of the DNA they have on file are self-identified. So you have people who are pure European or 89% European who are going saying, I'm indigenous, right? Because some of them don't even know. Like you literally have people finding out that they are not indigenous, that their family stole land, took artifacts. But those are the people whose DNA on file they're testing your DNA against. So when they come back and tell you you're not indigenous, you have to understand people were kicked out, disenfranchised by the thousands, and actually more than that, by the millions. And so the dark-skinned indigenous people their DNA is not on file. They're not digging up graves to find out. And the other thing is that there is a financial incentive to Black people not knowing they're indigenous. Again, New Orleans could be indigenous territory and should be, because believe it or not, we have the oldest indigenous traditions that we have kept on record. So the Black Masking Indians cultural tradition, it is older than all of the reservation traditions because they're calling it powwow. Powwow doesn't even mean gathering. It means medicine man. It was a misnomer. Like white people misunderstood and started calling it powwows. And now these people are calling their dances powwows. We are the only people who have kept our indigenous traditions intact. Like when I remember being a kid and my grandfather burning his costumes in sacrifice. He would spend all year making it. He would make patches to sell, but he would burn those suits because that was what we have always done. And they would burn it and they would say prayers to protect the children and the land and the people. This is sacred work. And a lot of people don't even know because that's how good of a job they did of brainwashing us, but we still do it. We still behave this way. My grandmother was still the head of our family. She was the head of the whole family. And when she died, honestly, our family fractured because no one really wanted to take on that much matriarchal responsibility for the entire family. But we see this as our grandmothers and big mamas are passing. And you look at Black families throughout the South, most of them have a grandmother or big mama, great aunts. this is the same structure. And you cannot tell me that we are behaving in the same structure, eating the same foods, doing the same dances, and we're not indigenous. We're paying homage to other people's culture, but not. And why didn't your grandmother tell you were from Nigeria or Cameroon? Why did she tell you were Homo? Why did she tell you were Choctaw? Why did she tell you were Chitimacha, Blackfoot? Because she kept that information, and I was, despite the fact that for hundreds of years they tried to strip it from her.
So I'll make this last point, and then want to definitely find out how we can.
I was about to say, yes, like, how do we get the book? Let's not forget the most important thing is, like, how do we get access?
Exactly. But part of my wife's academic background is sociology, and she's from North Carolina. So when she moved here with me, she looked around and she just started doing stuff, and she's getting to know the landscape of New Orleans. And one day she looks at me, she goes, Do y'all understand how much political power y'all have here? She's like, Black people here have a lot of political power.
Yeah.
She said, but it feels like y'all don't understand it. And I'm sitting there like, I don't think we do. And
the numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. But I think what she was thinking about those everyday people. Again, all the folks who are part of our tribes here. Who come out every Mardi Gras, and those that understanding, everything you just communicated, is a very clear understanding of that. I feel energized, honestly. So let the revolution start.
Right. Like, let's learn from the history. Let's learn.
Exactly. So the book is What the Grandmothers Kept, and the full title is Afro-Indigenous Identity, Paper Genocide, and the Economic Architecture of Erasure by Ashana Bigard. How can people get the book?
I mean, it's on Amazon, and the thing about it is, so the digital version is free, and the reason I made the digital version free is because I'm an educator at the end of the day. Do I want people to buy it? Absolutely. I'm always searching for funds, because as a big mouth advocate, I'm not always the person who gets funding. Ashley will tell you.
Okay. We've been through some things,
okay? So it's just like, they're like, not that one. That's a troublemaker. But I want my people to have this information because it is empowering. It's like, when you understand, we have fought for every inch. We have fought from the beginning. We have never stopped fighting. We stand in places and do things that seem impossible. The fact that we're 13 to 15% of the United States, and we got civil rights passed, and then went over to South Africa where they were 90% and helped them with apartheid. Like, do you have to understand how incredible and determined the people are? The fact that we invented almost everything. And I just found out 2 months ago that the bones of what created the internet, created by a Black woman.
Yeah.
JPEG created by a Black woman, GPS created by a Black woman, satellite system, Black woman. I mean, the modern infrastructure, which is modern society, we have created, and they hide it from us. They're still hiding information from us, and we just can't believe what we were. And I know it goes against modern academic culture, because you have so many people who have PhDs in African American studies, and the truth is, we're not African American, we're Indigenous American. And it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, because we got caught up in loving being African. We're not. We're Indigenous American, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the people in Cameroon are beautiful, but that ain't your ancestors. Your grandma told you you had Indian in you, because you do. You're an Indian. I mean, well, a native, because Indian is, him coming over, mistaking us for Indian. But, this is your land. Yeah. This is your water. This is your oil. This is your minerals. Fight for it.
So, again, the book is What the Grandmothers Kept, Afro-Indigenous Identity, Paper Genocide, and the Economic Architecture of Erasure by Ashana Bigard. You can go ahead and Google What the Grandmothers Kept. So here's what you do. If you decide to take advantage of the free copy, the digital copy, that's fine. Buy a copy from Amazon and gift it to people.
Absolutely.
Or buy a few copies from Amazon and gift them to people because, Father's Day is coming up. And Christmas.
Well, and Mother's Day too, because women. Because I think we also have to reafirm, female leadership, right? And acknowledge.
That's why I point out Father's Day.
That too,
so
absolutely.
Because the brothers we need to get on board. We need to get on board.
And so let's reaffirm the reality that so much of the progress in our communities and our households. That's why when we do voter engagement, we start with the women.
Absolutely. So all right, we have Mother's Day coming up. We got Father's Day coming up for all the brothers who support. And then it's never too early to buy your Christmas gifts because it gets expensive in December. All right, there we go. Ashana Bigard, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you. We're going to be back in just a little bit. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show on WBOK. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Partly cloudy skies on this Tuesday, eventually seeing mostly cloudy a little later on into the day. Other than that, highs 81 to 84 degrees. Humidity is also on the rise. Staying dry today, though. Then lows for tonight, 66 to 71. For Wednesday, 85 to 88. We will see a small chance of a shower or two, but more rain expected for Thursday and Friday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hey, this is Dave Poston. Be sure to listen to WBOK 12:30 a.m. every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday evening at 5 p.m. Bringing you the best Southern Soul barroom music with the Southern Soul Weekend Party Mix, hosted by me, of course. I'll be playing your favorite Southern Soul music by artists from all over the South, right here on WBOK 12:30 a.m. or online at WBOK1230.com. The station you listen to longer. Listen to longer. Listen to longer.
Life has a way of shifting priorities, changing needs, and pivoting plans. Home Bank is there for all of them. From understanding your needs, meeting your goals, and celebrating your success. Home Bank is invested in the vibrant spirit of our community and in you. Stop by any banking center across Greater New Orleans or visit them at home24bank.com to get started today. Good business, good for life. Home Bank, a member of the FDIC.
City Park is where to go when you don't know where to go. Turn towards the city center and start walking. Before long, you'll end up where you belong, at the heart of the city, New Orleans City Park. Stroll along the reeded marsh, wander through the sculpture garden, rest and recharge beneath ancient oak trees. This is where your spirit goes to grow. It's in our nature to yearn for nature. NewOrleansCityPark.org. Heart of the city.
Looking for a great deal on your next phone? Come see us at your locally owned AT&T store for the latest Samsung and iPhones. Visit us at 3616 South Carrollton Avenue. We have great offers on watches, tablets, accessories, and internet service. Whatever your connectivity needs are, our team is here to help you keep connected. Visit us today at AT&T, 3616 South Carrollton Avenue. Locally owned and proudly giving back to the community.
Greetings and salutations. I am Edward B. Coulon Smith, chairman of the board of the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to invite you to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon on WBOK to listen in on Black to Business and be a part of the movement that's going on. Thank you.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. Ashley Shelton of the Power Coalition joining us.
So glad to be here.
And I've been, so out of the corner of my eye, I've been watching Ashley just hard at work, working the phone, working the Apple Watch.
Y'all, there's so much that's happening. I mean, again, the Supreme Court. I mean, at 7 p.m., Justice Alito took away the 32-day grace period before a decision becomes law so that he could support Louisiana having constitutional maps.
Yeah.
And, and then Ketanji, I always forget the middle name, Ketanji Brown Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Because, in my mind, she's my friend. And so I just call her Ketanji.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's
in my
mind.
In my mind. And she dissented. And then, which is highly unlikely, Alito responded to her dissent.
Wow.
And which never happens. And so, there's so much going on, legally right now. And, as both a plaintiff in the Preston Robinson versus Landry case and an intervener in Calais, there's just a lot of legal things that we're moving. And so just, again, want to remind folks, vote early vote and complete your entire ballot. If your ballot should still include the House
I was gonna say,
congressional,
including the House.
yes,
Yeah.
and so you need to complete your entire ballot because it has still not been decided by the courts whether it was even legal to suspend the House congressional race.
Here's what's going to be interesting to me. Is it's going to be interesting to me to see what happens if the Supreme Court itself among the justices, if it gets nastier, and the conservative justices who are staying suspiciously quiet, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. Now, I mean, I think we all believe that they're going to fall on the conservative side, but it's going to be interesting to see if any of them actually has a soul left.
I mean, I think Wednesday decided that. I think that it is, like this is about rebalancing, power to their side. Period.
Well, but the fact that Alito responded to the dissent is very interesting. I mean, I'm not a legal scholar or anything like that.
Same. Like I Tuesday play a lawyer on TV.
But like you said, that's rare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unlikely.
All of this is wild behavior.
Yeah.
But none of this is all unprecedented.
Yeah.
And also not following precedent that has already been set. And again, we kind of find ourselves in this weird place. But I mean, it's changing by the day. We're waiting on multiple court cases to kind of and different legal moves to try to figure out like how do we protect the vote. I mean, this is you want to talk. The one job that the Secretary of State has is effective election administration. And I have to tell you, this is not effective election administration. No. This is straight up voter suppression. Yeah. This is the governor's way of trying to get these amendments passed because people aren't paying attention or people just heard canceled and think the whole election is canceled. And so we have been trying to educate. The election is still on. Don't be fooled. Vote your entire ballot.
So here's what I'm wondering. Could there be a scenario also where Landry was eager to do this, not only because he's Trump's puppet, because that's part of this too, but also because maybe, just maybe, in a couple of those congressional districts, a couple of people were in trouble. Like Mike Johnson, you can't tell me he's not in trouble in this district.
Absolutely, and he's got a large black voting block in his district. And
what about Clay Higgins? What about his district?
No, I mean the same. I mean, Lake Charles has a large black population.
Yeah, and I've got to imagine that part of this is Landry trying to protect them too.
Absolutely, but I think that but unfortunately he's not protecting them because what he's doing is. In his effort to bow down,
I mean, he thinks he has the power to do it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, but it's also too that like in the midst of playing this game, right? It was like you make them all vulnerable, and what I hope is that black folks turn out en masse and shake up the board. And I think that, and not just in Louisiana, I think in all the states, the margins on the House and the Senate are slim. They are slim. And so there is an opportunity for voters to elect candidates that are going to do the work of restoring the rights of the people of this country and what's been lost in the last 2 years. And so this idea that like we have to just accept what this is, and I don't care what your party is, are you going to restore voting rights for minority communities? Are we going to have a Congress that's actually going to do its job and effectively hold we have 3 branches of government for a reason.
Right.
And currently Congress is not doing its job and the executive branch is doing whatever it wants unchecked. And we can't continue. Our country's not going to survive that. Yeah. We need a Congress that's going to hold its role within the 3 branches of government. And we have an opportunity to do that in the fall. And again, let's shake up the board. Shake up the board. Let's have our voices heard. And again, Louisiana is a traditionally low turnout state across race and gender. And this is an opportunity for us to remind folks that we actually do care about our voting rights. We keep showing up and fighting for them. And again, we can show up at the polls and, and send a really strong message about the country we want to live in for the next 250 years.
I mean, all the folks in Northwest Louisiana, and I'm not talking about black folks who are upset about the data center. This is your chance to tell people how you feel about the data center.
Exactly.
Let's get a call in. Ike has been waiting patiently. Good morning, Ike. How are you?
Great morning. Look, the young lady who was giving information was totally right about the book. And this what's going on right now in the state of Louisiana is what they're trying to do is bring us back into Jim Crow. And what's happened is this. You look at all of the things that they're trying to do to Brother Duncan. They don't want him there at all, okay? The governor right now, he has this big fasano about prison reform, and he don't want nobody to get out of prison because he wants to fill all of those prisons in North Louisiana with all of our children to put them back in slavery. Now, with the other thing that I had to tell people about the other day, it was about it just hasn't just started. If you read Project 2025, but they really started here in the state of Louisiana with the young brother over in Bogalusa who was the mayor. You know what I mean? Because you got to realize Bogalusa was a totally white town, okay? And they trying to get this little brother out there for they said what he did or how he did or what he was involved with. But you got to realize he's a young man. So, but right now in the state, the House, the Senate, all of that stuff is trying to go back to Reconstruction, way back to Pinchback time, because this brother that he won with 68%, and now they want to say, no, he can't do it. Well, how come he can't be there on the criminal side or work with the civil, and why she's not asking him to say, well, look, man, you won, come on over here and handle this criminal side, because guess what? He did his homework. He did what he had to do, and let him work the criminal side. But now I see they're bringing Darren back to work, quote unquote. And I love Darren because me and Darren, we grew up together. But the thing is, let the man work, do his job. And I'm sick and tired of people here not understanding. In our people, and I tell everybody, watch your children. Remember that your grandmother said something a long time ago. Be honest in what you're speaking about. Tell the truth, and always remember that you got to trust in something. And the village has to return to the city of New Orleans because guess what? Everybody in New Orleans not from New Orleans. And at this time, everybody's here want to bring their piece to our city. But guess what? We're different. You got 5 different police officers that you had. You had the criminal sheriff, you had the civil sheriff, you had NOPD, you had the harbor and the levee boards. And that's not counting the municipalities around the city. Outside.
And listen, I hate to break your train of thought, and I hate to break your commentary, but we do have to get to a commercial break.
Handle your business.
But
all right.
Man, but great. Thank you so much for calling. That is some great stuff. And I know he was on the roll, and I really hated to do that. But I thanks a bunch. But we need to get to a commercial break. And Ashley, when we come back from commercial break, she's going to have disappeared because Ashley has stuff to do. She has stuff to do.
I gotta go file an affidavit. Okay.
Yeah, no. You need to go. You need to go handle your business. Ashley, thanks so much for joining.
Always so glad to be here, and I'm so excited. I'll be back tomorrow. And in fact, tomorrow you have me the whole time.
Hey, there you go. That's what we're talking about. All right, let's get to this commercial break. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton.
Thank you for having me.
On the Good Morning Show on WBOK. New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. The number of Black summer associates at law firms is shrinking to its lowest levels in more than a decade. That's according to a survey by the National Association of Law Placement. And as part of a larger trend across industries, in reaction to a conservative push to end race and gender-based preferences in hiring and in school admissions. I spoke to Bloomberg Equality reporter Jeff Green, who says this decline could be just the tip of the iceberg.
We haven't even begun to see yet the impact of enrollment based on that affirmative action decision. The NALP folks said that's probably not going to show up till maybe next year's class. So you'll have the other side of that ratio affected. The number of Black people who were in law school may also be diminishing.
Conservative legal strategist Edward Blum is a name to watch here. He's led several successful initiatives to curb DEI in places like law firms. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
It's deck days at Lowe's, and the savings are stacked. Right now, pros get 15% off all in-stock composite decking from top brands like Trex, TimberTech, and Decorators. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5 amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt tool. The deck's stacked in your favor with brands pros trust. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
The U.S. Supreme Court has dealt a serious blow to the Voting Rights Act, a decision with far-reaching consequences for minority voters, especially African Americans and others, whether they realize it or not. In a 6-3 ruling, the conservative majority of the nation's highest court struck down Louisiana's second-majority Black congressional district. That district, represented by Democrat Congressman Cleo Fields, was created by the Louisiana legislature to ensure fair representation for Black voters. Before its creation, Louisiana's congressional delegation included just one Black representative, despite African Americans making up more than a third of the state's population. The court's majority argued that drawing districts based on race is unconstitutional, even when the goal is to correct historic underrepresentation. Yet, political line drawing, long used to shape congressional maps, especially for the Republicans, remains permissible. The court's 3 liberal justices sharply disagreed, warning that the decision threatens decades of progress made under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Congressman Troy Carter put it this way, quote, "For decades, the court's majority has steadily chipped away at the Voting Rights Act. The consequences of this decision are immediate and severe. The hard-fought progress that led to the creation of 2 majority Black congressional districts in Louisiana is now in jeopardy," end quote. Civil rights leaders warned this ruling could weaken Black voting power not just in Louisiana, but across the nation. The message is clear. If you care about representation, about fairness, about your voice being heard, then vote like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Bottom line, get up off your rusty butts and go vote, damn it. This is Norman Robinson Off the Top.
Attention, WBOK listeners. Are you a fan of the station and want to show your support in style? Well, we've got some exciting news for you. Introducing the official WBOK merchandise, the perfect way to wear your love for the station. Whether you're a longtime listener or a new fan, we've got something for everyone. Head to WBOK1230.com now and grab your WBOK gear before it's gone. When you buy WBOK merch, you're not just getting quality items, you're supporting the station you love.
Interest rates and inflation are out of control. Is your credit card debt also out of control? It's time to resolve your debt and take back control for a lot less than what you owe. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, then you need to call us right now. Debt Fix Pros can significantly reduce the amount you owe, and you could be debt-free faster than you think.
I knew we had to do something. Our debt was growing.
It was getting out of control, and we just didn't know what to do.
We saw an ad for Debt Fix Pros. We called, and they showed us how fast they could get us out of debt.
It really was amazing, and now we're back in control.
Call now and we'll show you how easy it is to fix your debt. The call and consultation are free. Call Debt Fix Pros right now at 800-311-5977. That's 800-311-5977. 800-311-5977.
This is Jaden Simone, host of Uncomfortable Situations.
Join us on May 9th every Saturday. Tune in from 5 to 6 for conversations that keep you uncomfortable.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
And welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Eddie Francis in for Will Sutton. So we had a couple of questions on Facebook, the Facebook community, asking the right questions. And that is Ashley Begard's book available at the Community Book Center? Sherry asked that question, and she said, I don't mess with Amazon. Actually, I don't either, Sherry. I don't. If I want a book, I go to the publisher or I go to the bookstore, preferably the Community Book Center or Baldwin and Company. I will go to one of those two. But here's what we can do. We can find out if we contact the Community Book Center and Baldwin and Company and ask them if they have the book, then that is going to, I think, set off an alarm for them to take a look at it if they don't have it. And so let's support the sister, because the information that she delivered is extraordinarily important. But I also want to end the show by encouraging you to encourage people who do not believe that their vote counts. I know that we talk about this all the time. You know, Norm Robinson, we did our off top with him. And, you know, he said, get off your rusty butts and go vote. I don't disagree with that sentiment. However, I will say this, and I'm going to share something that I shared on the Reality Check one day when I was sitting in for Gerard, and that is when we talk about what people are feeling right now, people who say I don't vote or I don't want to vote, it could be a combination of things, but the likely thing that we're seeing is what's called political alienation, where they feel as if they're not part of the power structure at all. So if they vote, it doesn't matter, right? That's the feeling that a lot of people communicate. My vote does not matter. Now, there are some people who outsmart themselves and they'll say, I vote local, but I don't vote national elections, which, you know, all right, fine. You're kind of reaching for stuff with that one. But here is what we can do. And this is something I was having a conversation with AI one day, and AI came up with some pretty interesting angles to helping people see the value of their vote. And one thing is to replace the term voter apathy with other terms that are empowering and terms that are affirming. And one of those is telling people, is when they say, I don't vote, the response could be, but you do have civic power. And that civic power is in your vote. Now, when we say civic duty, duty implies that you have an obligation. So it sounds like I'm telling you, you got to do this. But when you say civic power, you're telling people that they have some control. Even if they don't think they do, they still have it, right? The other thing is, your voice needs to be in the room, or put your voice in the room. It's kind of an abstract concept, but the thing is that what you're telling people is that they have a decision that they can make, and the decision that they make can influence what's going on. Tell people that they hold the keys. That really works with, according to my friend AI here, Claude, that really works for working class people. People who understand that they are locked out of opportunities, tell them that they do hold the keys. Show up for your community. Show up for your people. Let's position voting that way. Let's frame it that way. It's an opportunity to show up for your people and to help bring power to your community, to bring resources and to bring the kind of leadership that you're looking for. Investing your town, your city, or your state, especially those who are business owners, small business owners, and who want their dollar to circulate. Let them know that if by voting, they are making an investment. And I quote Gary Chambers Jr. on this all the time. Voting is a business decision. And so help them understand that way as well, those who are the business-minded people. The thing I would say is this, and I want to end on this note. One conversation is not going to do it. This is a series of conversations. So I would say this. Here is the call to action. The call to action is talk to somebody today. Somebody today. And if anybody tells you, my vote doesn't count, I'm not voting on this May 16th election, I don't care about that, try using that kind of language, starting with, you have way more power than you realize. Early voting ends on Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day until Saturday. Go vote early. Do it now and vote for everything, including the House party candidates that you want to vote for, Democratic or Republican. It has been a pleasure hanging out with you. I'm going to see you again on Thursday. Will is going to be back tomorrow. I'll be back with Will on Thursday. This is the Good Morning Show. Coming up next is The Front Porch. Hang out with Kemba and Graylin. Jared, thank you, man. You earned your check today. All right, that's it. The Good Morning Show, WBLK, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.